this meeting is also being recorded, so please be mindful of that and keep your cameras off if you don't want to be recorded. What was I saying? I was saying, oh yeah, so within this lab, we're really interested in exploring different typologies of spaces, how we design spaces, how they'd be governed, the politics of spaces, and particularly within the context of North Birmingham, how we could start to organise around land effectively as a community. So on that, I'm going to introduce the wonderful Nabil that's joining us today and hosting the workshop. And yeah, I'm gonna hand over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you.
You'll do that better than me.
Thank you. My name is Nabil Al-Kinani. I'm an Arab male with glasses, a beard, and I'm wearing a black zip top. Thank you for joining me today. I think I want to start this session off by giving a bit of an introduction as to who I am. I'm from Northwest London. I was originally born abroad in Iraq, and I came here as a migrant. And I grew up like most other people who emigrate to Britain. I grew up in a council housing and understood sort of the power of urban transformation from a very young age, because I grew up experiencing a lot of gentrification and urban decision making being sort of delivered outside of the influence and consideration of the communities that I grew up around. And so a lot of my work focuses on how to put choice back into the hands of my people. When I say my people, I mean individuals who come from social housing estates like Ladywood, like Stonebridge down in London, like St. Raphael's, like Chalk Hill in Wembley. And I'm really interested in democratizing this urban transformative power through legislative means. So I authored a book called Privatise the Mandem, which uses existing sort of UK legislation to acquire the freehold of the estates that we live in. Reason for that is in the UK, the political structures and such basically means the landowner is the most powerful person in this country. And so I really do see Privatise the Mandem as a transition into a better future where we first aim to protect ourselves from threats like gentrification and allow our communities to start shaping the city from our own imaginations. So today is almost the first exercise of imagination work. So the overall aim of today is to discover how many possibilities we can imagine for our communities over 3 rounds. So we've called this training program Hood Futurism, and everyone who's joining us today is a Hood Futurist. So to describe what a Hood Futurist does, in short, for those in the room, there's a PDF. Feel free to use that, screenshot, save it, put it on your wall. But a Hood Futurist is someone who uses their expertise in imaginative ways in order to serve the future of the Mandem. When I say expertise, you don't have to be an architect, an engineer, or a designer. Every single person is an expert on the communities that they represent. So there are 3 defining characteristics. The first one is the act in the interest of the Mandem as a collective. When I say Mandem, it's a Caribbean English term which has been adopted into multicultural Britain, and it largely defines a group of individuals who are somewhat racialized in this country and working class, although the definition is quite fluid and extends past those parameters as well. So it's number one, acting in the collective interest. Number two is they support the creation of an environment that represents the Mandem and the values they hold. And number three is they unlearn societal norms and conventions in the interest of the creation of new norms and conventions suited for them. So that means what's beautiful to you stays beautiful to you. And it does not necessarily mean you have to cater for audiences who may otherwise not value your values. Now, there are PDFs that were shared with the online group, and for the group that are present in this room, you'll find dotted around design briefs, each one covering a particular theme with a central question immediately under the title. There are supporting thoughts and questions to help guide your work, and supportive mediums that are more descriptive than prescriptive. So please feel free to use them, or you can come up with a whole different way to deliver. What I want is for everyone to experience cyclical learning today. So if you can, stick to one brief, answering a central question. Round one, we will be looking at dreaming. So describing what you would like to see in the chosen brief, the beginnings of answering the central question. Then we revisit it in round two. We're building now. So how do we give form to this description, this vision? And then we'll have a bit of an intermission, and round three is defending. So I want us all to provide the rationale for what it is we're trying to achieve. And that can be easily achieved by asking why 3 to 5 times to get to the bottom kind of underlying reason. And there'll be sharing moments in between. Hopefully by the end of this, you will all be fully trained hood futurists and can develop your practice further. What I'll say is, for now, I'm gonna ask if we can do a 1-minute meditation exercise. And the only thing I want you to sort of dwell on is values. So you as an individual and the people that you represent, your tribe, what are the values that are most important to you that doesn't necessarily have to mean money? So anything outside of money. So I'll give a couple examples. It could be friendship, it could be privacy, it could be creativity, whatever is unique to you and the people that you represent. I'm going to set a timer. Please close your eyes and just dwell on the term value. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Eyes open. Thank you. So we're going to go into round one. Round one is dreaming. I'll ask Amber online if you can please present the briefs to the team.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't have a PDF, then just drop Amber a message and we'll email it to you now. I think it's in the chat.
Yeah. So let's spend and whoever's in the room, please get up, move around, have a look at the briefs on the wall. Spend 5-10 minutes exploring all briefs and choosing the one that you would like to work on today, and then start to bullet point some of your thoughts and ideas and ambitions rooted in answering the central question. Okay?
Yeah.
So timer starts. You've got 25 minutes.
Okay.
Now. All right.
Let's change the world.
I just wanted to emphasize that this round is about dreaming, it's visioning. So don't feel pressure to deliver a full plan now. So we'll be revisiting and building on this in rounds 2 and 3. So just vision what it is you want to see. Okay, so in a world where the Mandem own the ends and there's no limitations to the decisions you want to make, write down your desires, write down your vision driven by the values that you and the people you represent hold dear. I think it's also worth reminding your role as a hood futurist. Try and think of your family, try and think of your friends, even the neighbors that you may not necessarily be too close with and find quite annoying. Try and keep them in mind in your decision-making process. Try and consider how they would feel, their views, and the shared values between everyone in the urban area that you're imagining in. All right, so time's up. Thank you for. All right, so I wanted to kind of have a bit of a sharing session. Can I please emphasize that no one's idea is incorrect, no one's idea is wrong. I'd like everyone in the room to understand that everyone's sort of vision and dream is predicated on the values they hold. So can we please ensure that there's respect for everyone's sort of work that they share. So there's no judgment in this space. I wanted to ask if I could have 2 hands from the Zoom, and I'll probably ask someone in the physical room to share with us. I wanted to firstly just ask 3 questions. The first one is kind of, what ends are you imagining for? So like, is this imagination work rooted in a physical place? Where is this? And what's your relationship to this space? Who did you have in mind when you were answering your brief? And it would be good to obviously start off with what your brief was and how you got on. So let's start with someone on the Zoom call first. No.
Any volunteers?
Any volunteers?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy at all. Remember, there is no wrong answer, and I can almost guarantee we'll be blown away by anyone.
Can you not hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Should I just go with what I picked? And
Yes, please.
Cool. I picked the last one, civic representation.
Yeah.
Found it really interesting. These are great PDFs, by the way. So I'll just go through the questions. Kind of like I could have probably copied and pasted it into the chat, but I'll just read them out.
Yeah.
You can flesh them out a little bit. But how would you wish to present the Mandem? What relationships would your block have with its neighbours, with other cities, with the state, with other states? So I've kind of based my answer on this kind of idea that as individuals, as human beings, or creative, we're all creative in many ways, but as we have like 3 kind of general, in my perception, we have 3 kind of, I guess, types of work. We have the work that pays the bills, the work that builds portfolio, and the work that is legacy building. Most people dream and want to be doing work that lives beyond them. They want a legacy build, but how to get there is the mechanics of how to get there is sometimes very difficult. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of see if you had relationships with other neighbors in other cities, how could we explore work culture, but also in relation to dream culture, because most people have dreams, but they never visualize or able to actualize those dreams. So how can networks with other countries, other cities support that. So it will be interesting to see. I wrote, would be interesting to explore work culture in relation to dream culture and how those with networks to support can be active allies. That was my first response. The next one was, what relationships would your block have with other privatized ends? So I thought there's so much information, collective, qualitative research that happens in your block, happens in your ends, that stays in your ends, in a sense, stays in a block. You may have come across a problem that you were able to kind of like, I don't know, overcome. It would be interesting to share that with other people, because other people may, in other ends may be going through the same thing. So I wrote, would be interested to explore resourceful ways of living in reflection to each other's environment. So that means day trips and tours to each other's area to build bigger networks or create problem solving. Sometimes you need to be outside of your ends to come up with problems, conflict problems. Like if something's happening in another area, because I'm not attached to that network, I'm not attached to that, the problem, sometimes I can bring solutions that they maybe not think about because they're just, you know, you're too entangled in a lot of the internal workings out. So sometimes building bigger networks kind of gets you out of that. You think bigger, you know, thinking off the block, but at the same time, in relation to your ends, in relation to your block. And then the last one, what would these relationships with other spaces seek to achieve? So I guess the idea, it goes back to kind of the first question, it's just, you know, building shared, what did I write? Shared knowledge to build an active open source catalog and resourceful and helpful tools to build better sustainable housing realities. So when I say that, again, it's just the idea of that if people want to dream, they should be able to dream. If you're working all the hours under the sun and you have no time to personally develop yourself as a human being, no time to think, then who are you? What are you? You're just a machine to just pay bills and council tax. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
the bigger sustainable, better realities, housing realities, because, you know, I think there's a do for self element in this, which I love. And if something can be a mechanics for that, that'd be great. But yeah, that's my three kind of points.
Daniel, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing. Honestly, you've got my blood pumping, man. All right. We're gonna go into round 2 in 4 minutes, but I wanted to also provide an opportunity for someone in the room to also share. Anyone?
I think just...
No.
Clap.
Anyone in the room? Yeah, I would love to hear yours.
Okay, I chose the provocation playgrounds.
Yeah.
What sort of play environment would you create for children, for adults, for the elderly? The questions are, what would be the aim of play in these playgrounds? What would be the 3 things you need to be in the playground to achieve your aims? Would these playgrounds serve more than one function? If so, what would the functions be? My value came out as belonging, and your conversation, I grew up in London and saw it gentrified, and I had the phrase gentrification displaces belonging. And so my space would be a reading and creating space. So books, but in lots of different formats. And connection would be the aim. So let me try and focus. So the aim of play would be to connect in different spheres, either with yourself or with other people. The 3 things that would be needed would be held space, which is someone to tend, the feeling you get when you walk in, and with that in mind, it's for my target audience in some ways is people who don't feel like they can read. I don't know, that's a growing problem in today's kind of climate. Secondly, you need resources, and thirdly, you need care and curation. And the functions would be a multiplicity of space to allow people to access reading, access listening, access oral histories as well as published work, and to create kind of different frames in which people can either understand themselves or other people better. So that sort of ability for stories to connect you back in more with yourself, but also just to learn completely from fresh what someone's life was like in a different time, in a different period.
That's phenomenal.
I want to come to your end.
That is phenomenal. Okay, so just to provide a bit more context as to what I'm asking you guys to do, what you've done is you've created a concept. Okay, so all of the work that you've done is the foundations of a future that you are imagining. Round 2 is building. So in my industry, we call it definition. So it's literally giving form for the ambition that you've created for your block. Now, it doesn't need to be an architectural sort of drawing. It doesn't need to be a physical expression. It could be an organizational structure. It could be a process. It could be formless, but also could have form. So I provided some mediums under each brief to help guide. Don't feel like you have to use them. They're more just there as a crutch for support. So round 2, again, we're going to level up now. Can you provide some shape to your concept? Pick somewhere on your block, somewhere real, a specific street, a specific building, a specific park, or a specified group of individuals that you know on your estate. Try and have your concept reflected in your specific brief. Okay? So you're going to have 20 minutes for that. For the online group, can I please have sort of your responses put up on the Jamboard that Amber will be sharing? And yeah, everyone else kind of, we've got our notebooks. I'll give you 20 minutes for this, so it's a bit less time. And we'll go into sharing once again. So you've got 20 minutes starting from now. Go! All right, just a quickly reminder that as hood futurists, you're bound by 3 rules. Quick reminder, you act in the collective interest of the Mandem. The second one, what you produce represents the Mandem and the values they hold. And the third one is to create new normals. That's it. Good luck. Okay. So I hope I've given you enough time to provide some form, some shape to your intervention, and hopefully it's starting to look beautiful. What we're going to do now, Sharon's going to look a bit different this round. We're going to break out the online team into groups of 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much groups of 3. Please do share amongst yourselves. Conscious of time, I'm giving only 10 minutes of sharing, so try and give space for everyone to share their responses to each of the briefs. Remember, this round is building. So yeah, Amber, if you can go ahead and do that, thank you.
Sorry, we've got someone at the door. It's very distracting.
We're going to do 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can join us.
Also, just to say, once after the breakout groups, we're going to have a 5-minute comfort break. And if there's anything that you didn't get to share in the groups that you want to add to the Jamboard, we'd love to read those, please. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, so I hope that was a restful break. And everyone's raring to go for our 3rd and final round. So round 1 was dreaming. Round 2 was building, and now round 3 is defending. Okay, it sounds sinister, it's not.
It was funny because the camera zoomed in on you. Very good.
So round 3 is simply articulating the rationale behind your proposal. Okay, now I like to emphasize one thing. Someone's idea and proposal may be suited for their specific tribe and group, and it may not necessarily translate well in another block on the other side of Birmingham. There is no one solution. Human beings are complex. We all have complex relationships and complex needs, and that manifests in the urban environment. So again, although we are defending our own work, there needs to be a general understanding that no one's more of an expert on their block than themselves, in short. So let's not overly critique our peers' work. Let's hear them out and listen rather than listen to respond. So one way we can kind of help form this round is ask yourselves three times, 5 times why. Why is this intervention, why is this proposal important? Why should it get done? Why bother? Okay. By asking why repeatedly, you'll get to the underlying root reason. When you get to that reason, you'll be able to better articulate how your intervention addresses this underlying why. Cool? Now, your audience is your neighbor, it's your family, it's your friends, it's the guy that you nod to when you walk down the street but don't really know. It's it's the auntie with English as a second language. It's distant friends that you haven't spoken to in years. You're speaking to the Mandem. You're speaking to your people. It's an introspective discussion. So you've got
10-15 minutes.
You've got 10-15 minutes to write down. Doesn't need to be extensive, but your rationale. Remember the characteristics of a hood futurist. You're acting in the collective interest of the Mandem. Off you go. Okay. All right. So we've come up to the end of round 3.
Okay.
So we've come up to the end of round 3. We've reserved 15 minutes to have sharing of essentially 2 parts. Briefly describe your response to your brief and provide the why. Now, keep in mind, let's keep it to 5 minutes. I like to get 3 responses, 2 from the online group and 1 from the physical room. So I think is there a volunteer from the online group who'd like to raise their hands and bravely share? Remember, this is a safe space. Yes. All right, maybe we'll start with someone from the room. Oh,
Hey!
Amy, you're a real one.
Oh, maybe I can turn the camera on.
Yeah. I think you're. Hello.
Hi. Hello. We had a really lovely conversation before, so I just thought I would and I'm really the questions have really helped to open up thinking. Thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it.
So we had a really beautiful conversation about flora and fauna, where AJ talked about how to share the and learn the properties of plants, and oh, I can't remember her name. I can't even see anyone either at the moment. And another one was talking about her heritage in, I think, Martinique, where no one was bothering with the vaccine during COVID because everybody knew the healing properties of plants and actually knew what to give for coughs or fever and those kind of things. So actually, how could we share the knowledges and healing knowledges of plants, and also what that might how to learn not from the plants, but also across each other's traditions. And we were talking about how to have a plant service, like a jury service, like if everybody in England gave 1 week to care for the plants, to be in service to plants, to do. That would be such a really such a loving relationship with and understand that actually this undo the kind of hierarchy of human thinking that is such a big problem since colonization. And then also so part of the that was sort of and then also how to kind of cohere work already being done in your area by different, bring the schools in relationship to the kind of to the mutual aid groups, to the community kitchens, and also sort of bring up the allotment and the feeding of each other and the plant swapping and the kind of and also just sort of undo the kind of middle class relationship and this kind of much more violent relationship to plants, of kind of this sort of open gardens and this problem of botanics, to make it a more a shared sitting with and listening to and that kind of relationship.
Amazing.
Thank
you so much. Right, someone from the room. If someone doesn't nominate themselves, I might have to pick.
I see someone. Was that you?
I
thought it was you. Yeah, do you need just
oh gosh. No, I mean I could go.
Yeah.
You should.
Only if you're comfortable with it.
There's not, I mean, yeah, it's not like very technical. I'm gonna start off. Yeah, I just imagine the space where, I guess, first of all, I went with character and heritage, and I'm imagining a space like a community that oh gosh, I can't remember anything now. Yeah. A space where character and heritage exist in its functionality, so like the systems and structures. And I basically imagined, like going in depth, I've imagined a heritage village where the arts live within the ends, arts and heritage. So it's for the ends, created for the ends and by the ends, to ensure that things get passed on and created created to represent the ends. Most importantly, I'm going with like the artist residents, which and also this village operates via autonomous, independent and self-funded means, and it's run by artists and heritage professionals from the ends. And the village operates like a strictly cultural program via cultural means. I've decided to focus on the artist residents, where like this community serves the artists and the artists serve the community, so that the artists don't pay to live there. They and I'll explain why. So we need an accommodation facility that's not within this village, that's not priced based on its closeness to arts and to an arts and entertainment hub. Most of the time you find that because of gentrification, when residential areas are close to like entertainment areas, they're really expensive to live in, due to So yeah, most of the time artists aren't able to afford accommodation close to the work that they create or close to their workspaces due to gentrification and what this does to the economy. So this economy would fully accommodate its artists from living space to workspace to exhibition space, because artists aren't always able to focus on surviving capitalism. Many artists, like we all know about, like Van Gogh. And you know, people like him, you know, he died penniless, but he was a great artist, I think, and many others. I should mention more cultural examples, but I can't, sorry. Yeah, artists aren't always able to focus on surviving capitalism. Many have to forego basic needs just to keep creating, and this space serves to protect its artists from poverty as a consequence of capitalism. And that's
beautiful.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Look at you. Look at you.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes, but I don't want to give someone 2 minutes to share their beautiful work.
You can have 5 minutes.
I can have 5.
You can have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call who would love to share their rationale, a brief description of kind of their build, their form, their structure they'd like to introduce within this specified area of change, and the why?
Stephen.
I'll do it if no one puts their hand up.
Yeah?
Oh, we got hands. Oh, we got hands.
I don't mind if no one else is. Okay, let me. So I was thinking about governance and how the block could have like a non-hierarchical community governance structure, which kind of integrates peer learning, and it's kind of set up and designed based off governance structures that are democratic, that have been existing, but we learn from those structures, as well as local people in the community and hood futurist thinkers, so like a combination of those thinkers to design the structure. And then also that's kind of thinking about like those participants have equitable rates of pay, whether that's like rates of pay in terms of money, or if we think about value in a different way. And within that governance structure, they have like a commitment to regular peer learning, and the structure is really transparent and has accountability reviews across it, so that it ensures that it benefits the values of the Mandem. And also the focus is on redistribution, power sharing, advocacy work, community healing, and harm prevention. And I had a really great conversation with Daniel about, we talked about not replicating systems of oppression, and then also like the groundwork for this governance structure needs to sit within community healing, because if people are in survival mode in the first place, then it might be difficult for them to access. And we spoke a lot about gatekeeping, both as a community, like who are the gatekeepers in the community and who are gatekeepers externally. So yeah, just there's a lot of nuance underneath that, that obviously needs to sit within the structure, and it needs to be a moving model that can exist across different people in the area. So.
No, I love that.
Thank you.
You guys read, man. You guys are amazing. Yeah, firstly, I want to thank you all for sharing so openly and so lovingly. I think one thing I didn't touch on that I wanted to keep to the end is how identity is intertwined in a lot of your responses, and how a lot of your responses are basically a reflection of who you are and the values that you hold. And what this work really is it's an act of care. We wouldn't bother if you didn't care. You wouldn't want to change things if you didn't care. So I think everyone should recognize how taxing and loving the work is. So we're going to go into a 1-minute meditation. the word I want us to kind of dwell on, and the motivator for our work is love. So like the driver, the thing that makes you care is love for well, my voice breaking. is simply love. Now it's not it's love in all its forms: romantic love, platonic love, all of it. So 1 minute, we're gonna timer. Just think of the underlying why to all of your whys is love. So just close your eyes, sit with that, and let it kind of take over your body for a minute. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I apologize for us running over time. I know we promised we'd be done at 3. So please forgive the tardiness. I wanted to just give some closing remarks. I think hood futurism is something that I would like to see in the hands of as many people as possible. So whatever kind of pictures, whatever responses you produced, whatever PDFs were circulated, please kind of consider them open source, use them, and allow yourselves to use it as a framework, as a sort of platform for a not too distant future to help you ground some of your concepts and visioning work into reality, because the last thing we want to do is dream and not have it come to fruition. So I hope this work has helped sort of allow you to manifest some of that ambition within you, and has allowed you to sort of frame your thinking in the collective good of people around you, because it's very much needed in this time. I wanted to thank all of the MAIA team for being extremely accommodating and providing this space to allow people to share ideas and you know, imagination work is not light. It's rarely done, and when it is done, it's done in the interest of a few. So it seems like it's a cute thing to do, but the power of imagination is the most powerful piece of work anyone can do. So please do not kind of forget the weightiness of your work. And I'd kind of ask if people can give a round of applause to MAIA and the Imagination Lab. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Please do feel free to circulate your work to Grace and the MAIA team. I would love to see some of your responses if you're willing to share. My contact details will be thank you. My contact details will be circulated as well. I'll be sending everyone a free copy of Privatise the Mandem. So people here will get a free copy, and I think they provided their addresses.
They're gonna provide their addresses.
If you provide your addresses, I'll post you your free copy. This book underpins sort of hood futurism. So in order for us to imagine what the ends could look like, how we're going to get it in our control. And this is what this work does. So yeah, again, please feel free to circulate. Tag me on all of the socials. And let's talk. I have a line kind of dedicated for this work at privatisethemandem.com. So if you like to get to me directly, it's only me on the other side. I can't afford a call center. And yeah, we can chop it up. Otherwise, thank you so much for being so loving and so giving. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent workshop. Really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Mandem, if you wanted to say a few words.
Just picking up on that thread, like Nabil's work is so much more than speculative, and I think that's something that's so important to say, like these ideas and things that are being generated and shared. Yes, please. The things that are being generated and shared, we're literally building in Birmingham right now for this. The space that you're talking about is like the underpinning of this space that we're trying to build. That governance piece that I think Amy's left, oh no, Divya, I think that you were talking about governance. That's the root of what we're trying to build from. This is a more than speculative work, and it needs us to like show up and make this happen. There's an opportunity for us to do that real time right now. And that's why these convening spaces, they really matter. We appreciate how generous and open you all are in contributing to this, but it's not just for the sake of the event. We're actually trying to build something. So I hope that we can continue in that, and let's actually make these things that we're dreaming about happen. Let's pattern. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. It's been an absolute honour to have you all here. Yeah, send me your addresses if you want a copy of the book. Also, we're trying this hybrid thing. So if you have any kind of feedback on how you found it on Zoom or in the space, then just send that through, because it's always welcome. And yeah, I hope we'll see you at the rest of the lab. Book your tickets now if you haven't. And yeah, lots of love. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.